Welcome to My First Stage, the podcast where experienced public speakers share how they started getting booked on stages and how they've used them to grow their business. I am here with Josh Troche. He is a fellow podcast producer with a very different angle on things. I was just on his podcast, Podcasting Momentum, and I am so excited to continue that conversation. So, Josh, welcome and thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. We had so much fun on mine that we had to flip the script, right?
Absolutely. Get you in the hot seat instead of me. If anyone hasn't heard that episode, it is on our website and our blog. So go check it out. It was a lot of fun. And let's jump into your first stage. You started speaking how long ago?
Really, I mean, I've always done a little bit of it here and there. People are like, "Hey, you're loud and willing to stand up in front of a crowd. Go ahead and do this." But really, the first intentional one I did was with it was part of the 10,000 Small Businesses program. It was a program that I went through, and then every year uh, they do their annual luncheon for the area that I'm in, which is Cleveland, Ohio. And they're like, "Hey, can you speak to presenting and how to present for certain things?" And I'm like, "Sure." Uh, it went okay-ish. Um, I had a
A
little bit of a
glowing review.
what was interesting about it is I felt like most times for me, like any public speaking engagement, I'm like amped up. I am ready. I am excited. There's that little bit of adrenaline of like, hey, I could really screw this up. And I truly love that. And I'm like, I feel really off today. I didn't deliver well. And I went home, and the next morning I woke up with 103 fever because I had COVID.
Oh no,
So the speaking engagements did not start out incredibly well.
it started with COVID.
Correct.
Love that for you.
It was interesting because there was some learning lessons in that, obviously, in terms of I had a bit of time laying in bed to kind of run that speech through my head and be like, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And how did I set this up right and wrong? And so yeah, it was a lot of lessons in that.
So, what were the things that came to you? What were the things that you did right or wrong?
The one wrong thing that I did was I've always enjoyed speaking. I've done well with it. I mean, as you and I both are pretty charismatic people, it's not a big deal for us to be like, "Hey, let's talk about something." I didn't have nearly the prep into it that I should have had.
Mm.
I needed to be more rehearsed. I needed to have more of the prep into it. I thought I could go in winging a little bit better. And had I prepped better, I probably, even with the COVID, probably could have still delivered quite a bit better than I did. But I went in and, against all my own rules, did not do all the prep work that I should have, and went in. And I don't want to, it wasn't a crash and burn, but it was not the best presentation ever either.
That's how I feel about every session that I do. Like every time I'm on stage, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to prep for this. And now I'm just winging it. And I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I feel like I kind of black out every time. Um, it's probably a problem. But when you say like you didn't do the prep that you should have, what does that mean? Like what kind of prep work are you now doing when you before you get on stage?
For me, I'm not one that necessarily rehearses much. I like to speak freely, and I feel like, I mean, you and I both know with the podcast and that on camera, you need to be a little more rehearsed because you have to deliver with a confidence that, I mean, it's a blank eyeball staring at me right now. Um, the For me to be a little bit better rehearsed in my topics and to have a little bit more structure to it, that was missing for me. I don't need to have every line rehearsed because, once again, I'm going to tell some jokes that may be a little bit off. And there's times where you tell the joke and from a crowd, you're like, "Hey." And when they're all staring back at you, like, "Okay, don't tell jokes like that anymore." Uh, on camera, you kind of need to own that and just realize that it may not land and just keep trucking. So the preparation and how to go from piece to piece to piece to piece, I needed to be better rehearsed and better prepped in that in terms of having things organized. I ended up kind of saying, "Oh, I missed that spot," and I looped back to it over here. And then I'm like, "Oh, well, how do I get from this spot to this spot?" And it, once again, I think the message came across. I had a number of people say, "Hey, look, I loved the information." I don't think they did that out of pity, uh, but it was just it got a little disjointed and a little out of control for me, and I needed to have that in a better organization there.
I had someone on the show recently, Mickey, and the way that she explained the prep work that she does, it's like she'll do her presentation multiple times, record it, put it into an AI, have it tell her what she did right and wrong, and give her I'm like, I show up, and I hope for the best,
What's
and we
interesting
are not the same.
is no, is some people need that, and I needed what for me, once again, I think I'm more like you, where
Like, to be clear, I probably do need that. Like, I
sure.
probably could benefit a lot from that. I just don't have the brain to do it.
To me, it's there's certain ones of us that can just get up and speak naturally and really be engaging. There's other people that need those multiple steps. What the thing that I run into that's probably the same thing with you is you're like, "I got this." And I'm like, "I got this a little too early." Instead of saying, "Okay, I should know this, the order of things. I should know how I'm presenting things." Um, I should probably go into that with more of that committed to memory instead of relying as much on the slide deck or as much on that because we all get in that situation too, where let's say you've got a 30-minute speech, you've got 15 slides, you are 25 minutes in and you're on slide 10. And you're like, "Okay, I have 5 minutes to burn through the rest of these slides."
We've all been there.
Um, or the vice versa, where you're scheduled for a half an hour speech, you've got 15 slides, you're 10 minutes in and you're already on slide 12, and you're like,
We've
"Okay.
all been there too.
How do I milk these for that extra 15, 20 minutes?"
Let's fingers crossed the audience has a lot of questions.
Right. So it's to me, it's being a little bit better prepared to be on stuff like that. And that's the thing that I feel like in so many cases that I'm missing. And that's the big thing that I've been trying to work on as we do stuff like this.
Yeah, that's great. That's something I have to work on too. Um, what has your speaking engagement since then been like?
I've been much better prepared for things, and I have found I also one of the things that's been amazing for me is I teach a class. It's a non-credit class at a local community college, and that has been a huge help to me because I have used that as a little bit of my test bed to say, okay, like how prepared can we be? What are the things that we need to look at? I feel like I've presented a lot better with that. What's tough is that's typically one type of student. It's typically middle-aged people that are interested in podcasting. When I get outside of that, I found I'm like, okay, I need to do research on how I'm going to present better to some of these different audiences. I recently spoke to, there's a program at the community college called Encore. It's continued learning for 55 and older. I talked about podcasting with them, and I realized that I needed to, once again, have that speech. But I'm like, You and I, we could both talk about podcasting for days."
Yes.
Um, but I
Until everyone is like, "Please stop talking."
100%. So for me, I was like, okay, I needed to be a little bit more focused in my approach for them. So it's once again, it's those steps of like, okay, figuring out who's going to be in my audience, who's sitting in those chairs out there, and who am I speaking to about that? Because once again, the 30 and 40-year-olds that I'm speaking to in the class have a totally different vernacular. Yes, I said vernacular, dating myself there, than the 55 plus hardcore audience.
Do you have any, like, tips, tricks, advice for figuring out who an audience is for a speaking engagement, figuring out how to mold your presentation to that audience? Like, what do you do there?
I've started really asking a question, and it's the question that all marketers should be asking better is, why the hell are they here? What are they like? What made them say, "I'm going to plant my butt in this seat and listen to this guy talk"? Um, what problem am I solving for them? And it's to realize that is the key keeping them engaged and keeping them interested, and realizing that, okay, the 55 plus crowd, I was like, okay, I'm talking to them about podcasting. So I'm like, I made a ton of references to old radio shows to make sure that I made that connection for them because they're loosely connected. So that was the big piece for me is saying, okay, why are they here and what are they going to take from it?
One of, my recent guests, Marianne Hickman, she talked about, um, understanding what an audience is there for, and I love what she said because she said a lot of people give potpourri answers, and it's just like, I'm here to learn, I'm here to meet people, I'm here to network," and it's like potpourri, it's like, yeah, it smells good, but nobody knows what it is,
Uh,
and it's like, what does that actually mean?
you said it when you were the guest on my show, is you said niche down till it hurts.
Mhm.
And really, like, once again, if you are trying to speak, there's probably a wide array of people in your audience. But if you identify one person in your audience, then and speak to that one person, other people are going to listen in. The example that I always love to give to people is if you walk into a room of 200 people just standing around and start talking, everyone's going to look at you like, who's this idiot? um, if you and I start having a conversation, partially because we're both loud, but the conversations, like I'm speaking directly to you, but other people around us are going to be like, hey, this is kind of interesting. It's not for me, but it's interesting. So I'm going to listen in. And that to me is like, once again, that what people need to do with their speaking engagements is don't think of, okay, I've got 18 to 72-year-olds here. No, 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 no. Who is that one person in the audience that maybe they're a bulk of the audience that you really want to talk to?
I love that, yeah, that's, a lot of what we talked about on your show, absolutely, and, having it like, if your audience is women from age 35 to 55, women in that age range want very different things,
Yes.
and you need to be very specific about who your audience is and know not only I think the most important thing is knowing their pain points. Because if you just know, like, this is what they do for a living, this is their job, this is, like, what they're interested in, like, that's great. But if you don't know their pain points, you can't help them do anything. You can't help them
Right.
fix anything.
Right. Yeah, they're giving you their time, their most
Mhm.
valuable resource. Do something for them.
Yeah. I wanna bring up something. Oh, now why are you laughing at me?
No, to me, it's this obvious thing, and to me, it's one of the reasons why I think we've had such good conversations
Mhm.
because we're completely in alignment at this. Like, talk to someone and give them something for their time.
There is one thing that I don't think we're in alignment with.
Let's hear it.
So, on when I was on your show, you at it was towards the end, you said to give, like, one piece of advice for podcasters, and you said, "But I cannot say, 'Just hit record.'" And my advice was literally the opposite. It was, "Don't just hit record."
Correct.
So, you, must be in the camp of just hit record.
No,
I am not. No.
no,
Okay.
not at all.
You just thought I was?
No, the reason why I say that is because so many people have given me that answer that
Okay.
I preface it that way. No, I am a big proponent, and it's funny. This is why I was so upset with myself about some of the speaking engagements that I didn't prepare as well for. Because I
Mhm.
talk about it in podcasting. 80% of podcasting is in the prep work.
Mhm.
The example that I love to give is it's painting a room because so many of us have tried to paint a room. If you take off the switch plates, if you tape off all the trim, if you do all that stuff, wash the walls, your paint job is gonna turn out really good. That's not how you laid the paint on, it's the prep work that you put into it. If you just walk into a room, open a can of paint, and spin, well, then the the paint job's probably gonna be pretty bad. The
I
podcasting
mean,
is
it
the
would
same
look
way.
kinda cool.
It artistically, it's gonna be amazing. But in terms of a normal paint job, it's gonna be awful. So, I look at podcasting the same way, and one of the reasons why I got upset with myself about some of the speaking engagements, it's like, "Doofus, you preach this to people all the time, and then when you go to do something adjacent to this, you screw it up."
Yeah, I feel like I'm very much a do as I say, not as I do person.
100%.
Like,
People are like,
this is
"Hey."
what you really need to do. I'm not gonna follow my advice, and I'm gonna do it poorly, but you're gonna do it right because you listen to me.
But it's why people need people like you as the coach, as the person to work with them, because the example that I always give is I don't think, and once again, I'm gonna date myself here. Phil Jackson was not a better basketball player than Michael Jordan.
Who?
Correct. Used to be the coach of the Chicago Bulls. Um, he was not a better basketball player than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan still had Phil Jackson as a coach. LeBron James still has a coach, still has a physical fitness trainer, still has coaches for these things. That doesn't mean I mean, I've worked out with coaches for strength training that I'm stronger than. That doesn't mean I don't need them to kick me in the butt to be like, "Hey, dude, you're doing that wrong." That's what it's about.
I love that. I feel like I've had so many conversations on this show about podcasting, which that isn't supposed to be the point. It's supposed to be about speaking, but they do go hand in hand so well. And I
They
guess
do.
just so many of the people I've had on have podcasts. So, in your mind, how do podcasts and stages go together? How can you use podcasting to get on stages, etc.? All of that.
It's so much easier to for someone to book someone as a speaker when they can see and hear them. If I sounded like a 12-year-old boy with my voice cracking all the time, you'd probably be like, "Hmm, maybe not." You can come on, you can hear what I sound like. You can see how I present. If I just sat here like this with my head down, arms crossed, and you'd be like, "Okay, this dude is not speaking to anyone unless it's at a library." Uh, and with a librarian shushing people. So it gives you a really good idea as to how people are. Now the problem is any the thing that I see that's tough is anyone that puts together a demo video, of course, it's gonna be their best clips. It's gonna be when the fans are they're screaming. I can't think of the guy's name. Who's the really common, like, business coach guy, the super tall guy? I can't think of his name right now.
Alex Hormozy?
Alex Hormozy's another one. There's all types of people like that.
Gary V?
Gary V. But you know what? They're taking the best clips and they're putting those out. How do you know how they were for the other 10 or 15, 20 minutes? To me,
Yeah.
the podcast, it builds authority, but it also builds that trust in speakers because you're watching someone for 10, 15 minutes. Anyone can be lively or whatever you want for a few minutes. And especially if you're just seeing the highlight reel, I could send you a highlight reel and you could be like, oh my gosh, Josh is amazing at this thing. No, I just did it 3 times really well. Podcasting lets people build that authority because you get to see them time in and time again. Plus, if they're going to be on a panel, once again, you see how they're going to speak on that. You see how they're going to react to that, and you see how they field questions. The podcast that I do landed me on a stage of 300 in Washington, D.C. for a breakout session that was the largest gathering of small business owners ever in Washington, D.C.
How did that happen?
It was interesting. It was through 10,000 Small Businesses again. It
Mm.
was Goldman Sachs program. It was entertaining. They called I was getting ready to cancel the trip. Had too many things going on. I'm like, I'm not going on the trip. I get an email from them saying, "Hey, we would like you to introduce one of the speakers on stage." And I'm like, "Oh," and the speakers were like Kevin O'Leary, Damon John, Martha Stewart, Ken Lagone. So like big names. This is not like I'm introducing Bob. Uh,
No shade to Bob, we love Bob.
correct. Bob's wonderful. But yeah, so they sent me that email and I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm going to DC now." And they're like, "You get 30 seconds to talk about your business on stage, and then you get to do this." And like, it is scripted. And then they said, "Hey, we've got a lot of people that can read a script. We don't have as many people that can talk on a panel." And they're like, "We know you do a lot of things in your business that involve AI and automation." They're like, "Could you be a panelist?" Yeah, yeah, I could. And what it was is because they knew how I could field questions from seeing me and guesting on podcasts, the way I've hosted podcasts, things of that nature. They can see how I interact with people, and they're like, "Look, the guy eventually does figure out that he needs to shut up and move on to the next question." So they had me up on stage there for that. So once again, really neat experience to be up on something like that.
That's awesome. It makes me think of a panel that I did. and one of the people on the panel did not have the awareness of when to stop talking, and also was not giving any valuable information while speaking. Like, I think one of the questions was, "How do we get on your podcast?" And his response was, "I don't take pitches." Like, that's okay, but, like, maybe, like, what if you were to take pitches, is there something that would help? Like, they're not actually asking for your show, they're asking about shows in general, like, "How do you get on a podcast?" And it got to a point I took his microphone away.
I love
I
that.
just reached over and grabbed it, I'm just like, "Okay, maybe this will be helpful," and I just answered the question instead, and then I don't even know if I ever gave him his microphone back.
It's entertaining because I see so much of that. Someone told me a while back that when you're doing any type of speaking, it should be efficient, effective, and compelling. If it's not those things, shut up. Um, there's so many people, and it's fun. There's so many people where they feel like they're giving information about something, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You look around the room. Everyone already has this information. Get to the point. What does this do for me? And unless you're getting to that point, like, directly, just shut up.
It's it's so true, but it also, like, hurts my heart because so I talk publicly a lot about, like, having ADHD, and there's so much about ADHD that isn't fully understood by a lot of people. They think it's just, like, the little boy in kindergarten who can't sit still. But one of the, like, common, like, effects of it is we over explain ourselves because we are worried that people aren't going to understand. So, I'm like I feel like I'm constantly over explaining or explaining the same thing like 14 times, and I can't stop it because my brain is just telling me that I need to do this because they might misunderstand. And even like I teach storytelling and I teach other people how to be concise and only use the important details and all of this. But then if like my brain takes over, I struggle to do it myself.
I can totally understand that. I very much used to be that way. Like,
Mhm.
and to me, it came from an area of confidence. I didn't. I'm like, oh my gosh. There was two areas that it came from actually. A, confidence. I wasn't confident that my message was going to be heard, and
Mhm.
B, in some cases, I'm like, oh, these people don't get it. I feel like as I've gotten older and more experienced in speaking and things of that nature, people will either A, they do get it, they're gonna figure out how to catch up, or they don't care. It's one of those 3 things, and that's what's allowed me to deliver those messages. Now, once again, I'm making sure I'm delivering it for the right audience. I'm not talking
Mhm.
here to people that are here, but once again, if you do that, I felt like to me, that was the game changer because I used to be the guy and it started with my emails. I was the guy that sent the email that you're like, "Oh god, I gotta sit down and read this." And I started pulling words out of it, and I'm like, "Oh crap, that was 2 sentences." But it came from confidence of just being saying, "Look, they either know, they're willing to put the time in to catch up, or they don't care."
So true.
It's so tough to get past though, and
It is.
especially as a speaker because it is that, "Hey, I have to get to this area," and one of the things that's so tough as a speaker is trusting your audience. Um, any one of us that speak, like, to me, I love speaking because there's a little bit of that adrenaline rush, like I said, like, "Hey, I can royally screw this up," and I love that little bit of adrenaline rush, like, "Oh, hey, get up there." It's also the reason why some people totally fear it, so I have to have the trust in my audience that, okay, if I fall on my face and they laugh at me, yeah, I probably earned that one. But for the most part, I have to trust them that they are there for the right reasons and lean into that.
I feel like we get on stage for some reason convincing ourselves that everyone in the audience, like, wants us to fail or they're judging us. It's like, no, they're here because they wanna learn something.
Yeah.
Like, they want you to do well because they want to learn something from you.
And it's the other thing is too is for me too is what I take so seriously about it is what makes it tough, and I've had to kinda get past that, is I wanna make sure that every person in there feels like they got a tremendous value for their time. And it took
Mhm.
me a while to realize that no, unless there's only 2 people in the room and you being one of them, that's never gonna happen. You wanna make sure that more than 50% of the room got a tremendous value from it. That needs to be your concern. The 2 people in the back that are texting, guess what? You're always gonna have that.
Yeah, you can never make everybody happy.
No, no, especially, I mean, like I said, unless you're speaking to a room of 1, and even in that case, sometimes that's very difficult depending on who that other person is, but yeah, you're not gonna make the entire room happy. So focus on the ones that are happy and that are engaged and wanna be engaged with it. Those are the ones that really are gonna get the value from it, and those are the ones that you can connect with.
Has there been a specific, like, speaking opportunity that was really impactful for your business, your career, just one that you look back on and think, like, "That was a really important day?"
It I can't necessarily put one higher than the other. To me, the things that I have always taken from them is A, speaking is like anything else. If people see you repeatedly, they're gonna be like, "Oh, this person really does know what they're talking about." It's that repetition.
Mhm.
I remember where it used to be like 7 touches before someone would actually buy something. Now it's like 30. These are these touches where, like, it's not the they typically, someone isn't gonna show up to see you speak and be like, "Oh, oh, oh, yes, 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 here's my wallet." That doesn't happen on that first time, but showing up for them consistently truly has, and I know we've gained a number of clients that way, just in showing up consistently for them. And once again, when you show up here, you show up here, you show up there, and you show up in another place, they're suddenly like, "Oh, yeah, this is someone that I wanna be associated with."
I'm trying to think of I think it's Kim Yancey. He says, "Your repetition is your reputation."
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, if you show up consistently, that's
Mhm.
once again, people, in this you brought it up before, AI, um, all the AI stuff that's being generated, if people are gonna hear from a person, they wanna hear from that person, and if you show up consistently for them, that's how trust is built.
Yeah.
Trust is not built in one thing. If you show up consistently, so does that mean you need to show up at the same speaking gig every year? No. But people are going to see you in different circles. People are going to see you doing different things, and they're going to realize that.
You mentioned before we hit record that you are wanting to get on more stages and start speaking a little bit more. Do you have a plan of how you're gonna start doing that and what you're gonna be doing to try to get, booked on more stages?
We've started working on that, and it's interesting. So, another podcast that I do is called The Business Fix,
Mhm.
where Chrissy Myers, my co-host, and I we talk about how, like, we talk about leadership and how people typically are screwing up leadership, and how to make that better. And when we started this podcast, we were kind of like, we're going to do this. We enjoy talking about it. We have a great interaction back and forth. And I thought maybe sometime we'll turn it into some speaking gigs or some consulting or something like that. Um, we are just, in fact, later today, we're going to be recording episode number 50. And we've had some things that we've started to really get some good traction. So we're like, hey, we both enjoy talking, so we are gonna turn this into speaking gigs. So we're doing this backwards. Many speakers try and get on podcasts and try and do those other things. We're like, "Okay, we're gonna build this base over here, and then we're gonna see what it turns into," and the speaking gigs is one of those things. So we're starting with, in many cases, a lot of chambers of commerce. We have a topic that is key to so many businesses, so we're targeting them specifically to once again to we're starting with these entry level events to say, look, we're gonna work on this. We're gonna use this to polish our delivery together because we haven't spoken together, which is gonna be, I mean, we have on the podcast, but it's gonna be really interesting to get us on a stage at the same time. So we're starting with building those. The second piece that we're going to do with that, and this is one of the advantages that I have as a video production company, is I'm going to have my production assistants come in and film some of those events. So that way we can put them out so people see our interaction in the studio, but also they're going to see us up on stages. They're going to see us talking. once again, the highlight reel that I accused everyone of building and showing off before, guess what we're going to build? We're going to build a highlight reel.
No way.
Because once again, it's that thing that you need. And the thing that we're not going to do with it is we're not going to make this hugely complex. This doesn't need to be a $10,000 production. This can be two cell phones set up or a GoPro camera set up while you're talking, and two or three small clips while you're wearing a lav mic. Those can be the things that start pushing those speaking engagements to the next level because people are like, oh, hey, they're talking to people. Um, the ones that I find irritating are the ones where people act like they're speaking to a crowd and they're not. Um, I know some people don't necessarily see that, but I'm like, if every shot is like looks staged, but yet not on a stage or not in a place, like it should look either on a stage or kind of rough. Um, a lot of our speaking engagements are happening in like conference rooms or happening in like larger cafeterias. Um, Give it that look and show that, oh my gosh, there is 10 or 15 people listening to you.
We talked about this on your show, the idea that we have to be in an arena.
Yeah, no, you like show that you're speaking to 10 or 15 people, show that those people are clapping and engage, like show that like
Someone's hand is in the air, like they have questions.
right, and you just need a couple of clips of that and show it as
Mhm.
an audience. Don't show the person that's in the back of the room sitting there texting on their cell phone. That's not the one that you wanna show. But really, it show I tell you what, if someone sends me a reel, because I help pick speakers for a large business summit in Cleveland, is if someone sends me a reel where I see that there's 15, 20 people in the room, I'm good with that. That's
Mhm.
all we need. I don't need to see an audience of 700. Show that there's an audience, show that there's an engaged audience for one of your speeches, and that's once again, that's that credibility that we're all looking to try and build.
I love that, and we are coming up at time, so want you to give one last piece of advice for people who wanna be speakers, get on more stages, get on bigger stages, and it can't just be hit record.
Ouch. Oh, come on. I was gonna say put in the reps and no,
N nope.
to me, it is literally it is to work with someone like yourself. It is to have someone that is going to sit down with you and tell you the things that you need to hear that may not be what you want to hear, but sit down with someone that's going to tell you the things that you need to hear. Because once again, you need someone in your corner that's going to help you get better. You don't know what your blind spots are, so bring someone on that will work with you on this.
I love that, and I love getting to hang out with you. I for some reason, the best conversations I get to have are the ones that are with my competition.
100%.
And of course, there is no competition in this industry. Everything is about collaboration. And I love being able to hang out with you, learn some things from you, and see how we can kind of differ on some things sometimes, which is a lot of fun. So
Truly.
thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And how can people get in touch with you, find out more about you, find out what you're doing?
LinkedIn is a great place. My last name is spelled Troche. Look me up on LinkedIn. You can look up Pedal Snapper Productions there too if you want. I am LinkedIn's my jam. I do Instagram, but LinkedIn is my favorite. And then yeah, then plus too your episode to they should go watch your episode because you had some great insights in that too.
I will link that in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys, everyone, for listening, and come back next week for another My First Stage story.